lawmakers is that the party's over in Florida.
The spring break party is over. We need you to go home. The behavior that's been going on related to spring break has absolutely violated everything that everybody else is trying to do with social distancing, and it's unacceptable.
Beach front is closed to commercial enterprise. It is closed to recreational enterprise. It is closed to your personal enjoyment until further notice.
Some will look and say, well, maybe we've gone a little bit too far. When you're dealing with an emerging infectious diseases outbreak, you are always behind where you think you are if you think that today reflects where you really are. It isn't an overreaction. It's a reaction that we feel is commensurate, which is actually going on in reality. In states with evidence of community transmission, bars, restaurants, food courts, gyms, and other indoor and outdoor venues where groups of people congregate should be closed. When we're finished with the virus, we will win. We will win. And when that victory takes place, our economy is going to go through the roof. But we have to knock out this enemy. This is a really tough enemy, but we have to knock out all of us. That's all of us. We have to knock out this, and we will have an economy. I actually think we'll have an economy like we've never had before.
Live from Peach Time Out in the heart of Times Square, you're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good evening, everybody. We are not at Peach Time Out during the week. We are in the home office, and I want to introduce our first guest right away, Naples Fire Chief Pete DeMaria. Did I say that right, Chief?
Yes, DeMaria.
Thank you, and we appreciate you coming on. And just before you came on, I saw an article from about the governor, and that the governor still has not decided to take steps such as California, Illinois, New York, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Louisiana, Delaware, New Jersey, and Connecticut are all in some kind of shelter in place, or can't go out. And that is one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, was because you fired off an email to the governor today. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Center open all weekend long. We've been watching the events in the community evolve, and we're seeing that there's people that are just not abiding by some of the executive orders the governor's passing out. I mean, he's telling us to do some of the things that you would expect to be done, people to abide by beach closings, restaurants closing, gyms closing, but it's just not being effective. And I watched some videos, especially one from Dr. Michael Ryan from the World Health Organization, and he talked about the consequences of not making a decision. And the greatest error is to be paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. And so I know that our governor has our best intentions in mind, and I know that he's acting on the entire state's behalf. But for my community, I needed to tell him that I think the quicker, the better. I have an aging community. I have a lot of high-risk people we protect, and I felt it was important that I sent that this morning.
What are some of the things that you're seeing down in Naples that worry you?
Well, we have a lot of activity on the beaches. We had down on Key Wade and Island, I think it was very busy for a time that where the whole world is worried about a pandemic. We're seeing people at the parks throughout playing basketball, using all the venues that we've asked them not to use. Restaurants are abiding by the executive order, but they're still doing takeout. So we're seeing long lines and trying to take out food, and they're really not observing that physical distance that we need to have from one another. I think social distance is the true term, but I think socially we need to have interaction. So physically we need to stay apart from each other, and we need to continue to have that social interaction with each other. So we just got to do it from afar, or we have to do it through means of technology.
The beaches are closed down there, correct?
Yes, sir. They are closed.
People are still going out on the beach despite that.
Yes, sir. And we're seeing them a lot. It's just the enforcement portion of it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, how can you cover everything when you have other things going on too, and then you have to try and keep people off the streets? It's got to be almost impossible to do.
Yeah, we've asked our law enforcement to do a lot, and they're stepping up to the challenge. It's just how much enforcement do you want to, push on a family or a group of people playing volleyball? We just want to try to educate them, let them know that some of the things that they're doing are going to be unhealthy, not just for themselves, but for our mother, our grandmother, and some of those high-risk people. And that message is not getting out there. So this email came from a point from my heart, a little point of frustration, and just the need that I think I needed to say it. So that's what I felt I had to do.
When you saw what was going on today with the governor, when he made it looked like he made it clear, at least for today, things could always change when we wake up tomorrow morning, that he didn't really want to close it down yet because everybody, every county or every area has, acts differently or has different numbers. What's your response to that?
I can sympathize with his decision making. Right now, South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Collier, and Lee, we're faced with a bigger issue than some of the other areas in the state, especially in more rural areas. So I know he speaks on behalf of the entire state, and that makes his decision making a lot more difficult than what we do locally or in our counties. So I understand the difficultness that he's having right now. I just think that in due time he'll go on and make that decision that we're all in emergency management hoping he does.
Is everybody in the government down there in agreement with the email that you sent off to mayor and the other folks that make decisions? Was everybody on board with that?
Well, I can't speak for everybody in our local government, but I'm the emergency manager here in the city of Naples, and I'm the fire chief, and that came from only me. And like I said, a place in my heart that I think I needed to get that message out. So I know they all have strong feelings about the safety of our community. Where they are in their own minds now, I can't speak to how they feel about that, but I'm sure that they have a great concern as well.
Have you heard back? Did anybody respond to the email?
I have not. And I don't necessarily expect the governor to respond to that. I hope he sees that I'm concerned, and I hope he sees that other public safety officials around the state are concerned, and that we help him make a very hard decision, and we hope he makes it fairly quickly.
So one of the things that we're even seeing from the president today or overnight was that they don't want the cure to be as bad as what's going on now. And I think what they mean by that is crippling the economy so much by shutting governments down. What do you think about that? That they're starting to worry about that already. And I mean, you can really see parts of it's crippling the restaurant industry, the stock market, things like that.
There is no doubt that the economy weighs on our policymakers, on our governor, on the president, and of course I want our economy to be strong, but I also am charged with the public safety, and the fact that I know that this disease is more contagious than the flu. It has a R0 number of 3, which means for every one person that has this, 3 will catch it from him, and then from those 3 more, and it will go on indefinitely until we stop it. And the only way we can stop it is to prevent that physical distancing. And so the most important thing from my point of view is to save lives. And I know that at some point we'll push past the ability of our healthcare system to take care of everyone. And those tough decisions that our brave healthcare workers, whether they be fire rescue, law enforcement, nurses, doctors, they're going to have to make a decision through triage and who gets ventilators, who gets ICU beds, and who doesn't. And that day is going to be very difficult for them to make that decision. And it's going to be very important that we try to stop this before it comes to that. So one must weigh out, is the economy more important than those decisions? From my perspective, I mean, we can regrow our economy once we get past this public health crisis. We have a strong economy. I think we will come back. We will come back strong. But can we come back from losing such a large portion of our population? I have that concern.
Are there things that you can do locally still to tighten things up even before the governor decides or not decides to close the state down completely? Or have you guys really gone as far as you can in Naples?
No, in Naples, we did some really good things today. Our our city manager, our policymakers internally. We've closed all of our city buildings. We've tried to make as many things virtual as possible. No person-to-person bill paying. Everything's going to be done online or by drop boxes. We're limiting exposure to our workforce. We've put all the universal precautions in effect. So we're continuing to advance our mission as a city government and yet meet the needs, the essential needs of our community. So I think we're getting close to doing everything we can do, but we are certainly being as aggressive as possible and trying to curtail this virus.
Have there been any reported positive cases in Naples? And how many do you really think there actually are, even though they might not have been reported yet? Do you have kind of an estimate that you're working off of that you're preparing for?
Yeah, I think the numbers today jumped up to 37 in Collier County. We have a number of those positive cases here in the city of Naples. We have many that are tests are pending, and I can echo the Surgeon General to say that we should stand by for a shocking week. Now that we have more tests, more people are being evaluated, I think those numbers are going to rapidly increase. They will shock our community. They will shock all of us to see how quickly it will grow. And when we have more tests, we'll see even more positive cases. The thing is, if we can keep the increased cases on a more level curve, we will be doing our job. We will spread this out over a longer time, but we won't ever exceed the ability of our healthcare system to take care of the people that need it. So that's our goal, is to try to lessen the amount of people at any one time.
Do you feel like you have enough places to get tested, testing kits like that in Naples, or you're what's the status of that? If somebody, I don't even know if I had the sniffles, I wouldn't even know if I was supposed to go get tested. I mean, it's so new and crazy right now. But do you feel like that Naples has the testing areas and kits that it needs?
So we're testing on a regular basis. I would say we probably could use more, but the entire country needs more tests. I know we're working to get there, but it is the frustration of our health department that there are only so many tests that we can do daily. So we certainly can use more. Whether you get tested needs to be done by a doctor's order. So he would need your physician would need to write a script for you to take to a drive-in testing site and get tested. You would have to have been, I believe, ruled out for influenza, strep, whatever else they could rule out, and then leave no other option but to take a COVID-19 test. So we're gaining ground on the testing, but we have a ways to go yet.
Finally, if the governor picked up the phone and called you, what would you say to him right now?
Well, I don't think he's too busy to call me. I would echo what I wrote in that email and just ask him to make a well thought out decision that would help us locally address the issue. And so I think he's going to get there. I just think he's got a lot on his mind. He's got to weigh it out and make the right decision for all of Florida. So I count on him to do the right thing.
Chief, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate your time, and good luck down there in Naples.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
All right. That's Fire Chief Pete DeMaria from Naples, and we appreciate him coming on the show tonight. Firing off an email to the governor of Florida earlier today, hoping that the governor would close down the state, just like many of the other states have been doing. And that list now includes, in some form of another California, Illinois, New York, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Louisiana, Delaware, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And some of them are, I think, like Michigan's going to be midnight tonight, and some of them have already been in effect, and others are on their way to being closed down. And that means you go out and get groceries and go to the doctors if you need to go to the doctor, and a few other things. Go out and run a few laps around your house, but pretty much stay inside. And some people are saying it's the 15-day rule, and others saying who knows how long it'll be. Who really knows how long it'll be? And we're waiting for the mayor to join us. The mayor will give us an update from Fort Myers Beach on the meetings that she held with the other folks organizing things throughout the state of Florida. And while we're waiting for the mayor to jump on, we wanted to give you an update on some other stats and figures that we heard earlier today. This just from the Washington Post that today alone, 100 people died in the United States, and that now brings the total to 500 people. So 500 people in the United States have died from the coronavirus, 100 in the last 24 hours. And we're also notified by the Sea Gypsy folks down on Fort Myers Beach that they are now closing. So a little at a time, we see different businesses closing down on the beach. And earlier today, we posted on the Facebook that we were trying to figure out or look into which businesses, restaurants were staying open for takeout. We talked to Mark at Hoosiers, who let us know that they're still open, but they do close on Sunday and Monday, and they'll be back open tomorrow, Tuesday. So if you want to order some food, they have a perfect spot for pickup, which is right outside Hoosiers. They have a little parking lot there on the side, and their phone number is 239-314-5601. 239-314-5601. And Tuckaway Cafe still open, and their hours are 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and you can get breakfast and lunch. I feel like I'm reading commercials. You can get breakfast and lunch at the Tuckaway Cafe, and their phone number is 463-5398. And let's see, Lee County also announced some other closings as they do some more things to protect people in Lee County. And we have, let's see, the remaining public lobbies in county-owned buildings will be closed at 5 o'clock, or they closed at 5 o'clock. The county closed many of its lobbies last week. Let's see some other things from the Lee County Domestic Animal Services. They last week began conducting pet adoptions and fostering by appointment only in the lobby, but because of the community response, a minimum number of animals remain. That's good news. And adoptions and fostering are suspended at this time. So a few more things that Lee County did earlier in the day today. And right now we have on the line and in the Facebook box, the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Anita Saracita. Welcome back to the show, Anita.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Today? You doing great?
Oh, I'm a little tired today.
Oh.
Yeah, this isolation thing is, no, it has nothing to do with that. That's nothing. Yeah.
So what's the update from the beach? How did the call go today?
The call was very serious in tone. Everybody expressing extreme concerns about this weekend's boating activities. I guess people were figuring, let's go out on the boat. It's, some freedom, some ability to enjoy ourselves and get away from this whole worrisome thought process. And so what ended up happening was a lot of sandbar parties, which I don't know. Have you ever been to a sandbar party, Ed? Well, they're a blast. But you ended up having, the same problem out on the water that we have at the Edison Mall, which is why the Edison Mall closed and Coconut Point closed. I don't know if Edison Mall's closed. I'm assuming it is. But it's that gathering thing, whether you're outside, inside, or upside down. So there was a lot of discussion about that. I know that today, I know Sanibel has closed their boat ramp. I suspect more boat ramps will be being closed if they're not already. I know that I believe the sheriff and the county manager went up in the helicopter to kind of see, what's happening up there. Does it look better today than it looked this weekend? And the answer was yes. But still an issue. So that occupied a substantial amount of time today.
So do they plan to take some more action, or do you plan to take more action when it comes to boating? Can you, or is it all have to be from the...
Our boating is, we don't have any public boat ramps. Our boating is really the marinas, people coming here by boat. And so again, we're just, I hate to say it, Fort Myers Beach is just subject to so much, we're impacted by so much, and it's what we all keep reacting to. So, as far as boating is concerned, unless we go to a, can you ask? No, I don't have the authority to, so the boating, does the mayor have the authority to close the island down? I think that for the most part, and I'm going to try, I want to apologize to people for, I got a little bit emotional about the businesses and got a little heated with you on a couple of questions. I get that people want these answers. I totally get it, because so do I. But when it comes to closing down the island, I think for most islanders, that means closing the bridge. The bridge isn't ours. The road isn't ours. We have no authority to close the bridge or to close the road. Now, could we still do it? I think that we ought not to talk about that for a while. I think what we ought to talk about instead is what can we do to affect the same end. So what we can do is, and what has been happening are, like I said yesterday, Amy Lowry is a good example. Andrea at the Silver Sands is a good example of people closing down what I'm going to call, I called them today bait businesses, and it was kind of a funny, can you tell I like to fish. It's a bait business. I didn't mean a bait and tackle shop. I mean something that lures people to want to be together. Okay, so it's bait. So to me, a marina is bait. People are like, oh, well, the marina's open, so let's go rent a boat for the day and go out. All 27 of us. A hotel is bait. Yes, we're taking reservations because we're still open. Well, why are you taking reservations? I had a long talk with Jackie Lisak today about, what can we do, talking to some people here on the island to eliminate the temptation that still exists to come to Fort Myers Beach for a fun day. And little by little, the restaurants are closing. Some hotels have closed. Short-term rentals are closing. And the desirability factor is shutting down. Now, I had someone say, well, gosh darn it, Anita, that's like waterboarding, I mean, it's a horrible visual, but it's that, that drip, drip, drip of trickling away or ticking away at something. But at the same time, we've been successful with it so far. We've gotten compliance on the beach for the most part. Still some people who think they're above and beyond the law and that it's okay to have a sunset celebration. No, it's not. Be fair to your neighbors. It's not okay to have a sunset celebration. The beach is closed. Be respectful. And so I think we need, what hotels have closed? The only one I know for sure of, and I hope that somebody will text me and say, oh, Anita, we closed our property today to new reservations. We're helping our guests go home. I know that the Silver Sands is closed. Mm-hmm. I know that the Red Coconut is doing what they can to help their current guests get home, kind of, pack it up. Let's wrap it up. I know they're doing that. And today I've just been kind of engaged with so many other things. I haven't had a chance to speak to any of the larger properties, but tomorrow that will be my focus.
And Scott texted me right before the show started that the Sea Gypsy was closing.
Oh, yes,
too,
Sea Gypsy.
So,
that's right. That's right. So Jackie told me that the Sea Gypsy was closing. That's right. And they've got, evidently, Jackie has some, and not evidently, I knew that she and Scott have rental properties, and they're shutting those down, but for the people who are, and Myerside. Myerside told me yesterday, Myerside and the Sandy Beach across the street, Beverly Milligan said that she was closing that down, but for the people who were in place long term. I'll tell you who else I spoke with. I'll just say someone at the South End who told me that their clients were, snowbird clients mostly, seasonal residents, that they were mostly leaving. Our seasonal resident population is usually here like from October through tax season or through April 15th. They go home, do their taxes or whatever. And I think people are saying, we see the writing on the wall, nothing's open. I can't go and sit and happy hour at South Beach. I may as well go home. And so that they're making their plans. And this person thinks that by this time next week, there'll just be a few people at the south end of the island, which is quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
Because
So
usually it's packed.
we don't know yet if the big ones like Diamond Head or the Pink Shell or the Best Western, that we don't know if they're closing or have closed yet.
I'll be able to tell you that tomorrow because I'll
Okay.
be reaching out to those people. Hopefully, I'm hoping that maybe Jackie and I can, kind of maybe do conference calls or something. I don't know. But I guess what I'd like to say is that on the really great front, Fort Myers Beach was kind of singled out today as maybe having more compliance beachfront and in general. I'm thrilled for that. I know Sanibel, I think Kevin just told me, or Mayor Ruane just told me, I think he said 12 new restaurants have closed and maybe 8 hotels have closed, something like that. So Sanibel is, their people are shutting down. And I know Mayor Coviello, Cape Coral, they are meeting tonight for the first time. The governor changed the quorum requirement, and so they're meeting. So, it's...
Wait a second. I'm sorry, Anita. Who's that the mayor of?
Cape Coral, Joe Coviello.
Cape Coral mayor. Okay, gotcha.
Ed, you would like him.
Okay, I'll have to see. Get him on.
He's great. He's just great.
Not to get off the subject of the hotels, but it seems like today it's kind of getting a little political on the governor. The people seem to be piling on him a little bit about the state being one of the ones that isn't closing down. Like he could really help everybody out, it would seem, if he made the decision himself. But it seems like he feels that he's got a state that is not consistent, where maybe they're different in terms of how many numbers there are or how he thinks people are being affected by this. So what do what's your sense from the folks on the call that you can share about how they're feeling about where he is?
There's not a person on the call that doesn't support the governor 100%. I was a bit perplexed by some of his calls, his comments today, but I support him. And I feel like, sort of like me. I mean, I've been a little pushy. There are people far more reasonable, maybe. I'm not quite sure I have the luxury of being reasonable, but I think that everybody is going to come to the same conclusion at some point. What that point is, I don't know, and I will just continue to say I think everything is still on the table. Mayor Ruane said today a couple of times, I don't want to write a check I can't cash, and I totally understand what he's saying. And look, Mayor Ruane has much more resources than we have here. He's got a police force, he's got a much larger staff, and he's also got an island 2.5 times as large as ours. But he's got a lot on his shoulders right now. And like I said, I think we're all just trying to hang in there together and make the best decisions we can.
Now, on the call, is anybody talking about a proposed time for shutting everyone in? Let's say it gets to that. Is it 15? Everybody, you watch Trump's guys and they have the 15-day card that they're holding up, or is it just, until whenever? So we know it's not being passed around.
I think that's the reality of it. That's the truth of it. I think people are, the governor said today, we don't want to tell people they are going to be locked up for 9 months. I don't think that is what anybody is saying, but I understand he's looking at, information I don't have. I think that we can look at, Spain just extended their lock in place for another 15 days. So my aunts were hoping that by Easter they would be out and about, and they won't be. And so I think it's a, that word fluid, which seems pretty a strange word to use when it comes to talking about disease and viruses. I think that the fluidity of this is, I don't know what the timeline is. I mean, I have told my employees that I'm planning to be closed for 2 months. Now, whether or not I'm closed for 2 months, I have no idea, but that's what I'm planning for.
Okay, so let's say that something happens where it's a shelter in place, or you have to stay in, but you can go to work, and maybe you don't work on the island. Should the residents on the beach be prepared to have something in their car that says, with their address on it, if they had to get back, or that's not really going to be a matter?
I don't think they need to worry about that right now.
Okay.
I answered that question a few times online. Look, when Hurricane Irma happened and we were the reentry started, I was out in the middle of the road with Danielle from Bay Oaks and Sean De Palma, who was then our director at Bay Oaks, and we had mostly people who lived here. If they, there were a bunch of people that didn't have any ID, but I knew they lived here. There were also quite a bunch of people who were coming from Fort Myers. I remember a truckload of guys from Lehigh Acres that they just wanted to get to the top of the bridge so they could see the damage. And I said, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but everything is okay. I'd like to ease people's mind on that right now. They don't need to worry about that right now.
Should the restaurants worry about, I know a lot of people want to get out and get something to eat so they don't have to cook the same stuff all the time, or for whatever reason, they want to spend money at a Fort Myers Beach restaurant, but in some of the places there might be lines of people waiting for their food. I mean, how do you even get around that?
Well, I think you have to utilize that social distancing rule of 6 feet, no matter where you are, whether or not you're on a boat. I talked to a boat captain today. He said, I ran a tour with 10 people, and I said, oh, so did they social distance themselves? And he said, yeah, until we came on a pod of dolphins, and then all bets were off.
Okay.
So I think that, here's the message. This virus is highly transmittable, and it transmits person to person. Not only does it transmit person to person, but let's just say that I just went, sneezed all over the place. If I didn't do anything, and I had the virus, those germs linger here on all my little Post-it notes, things I need to remember, my keyboard, my phone, this glass, the screen. They linger for days, they're saying now. So if somebody came into my house, which nobody has now for almost 3 days, if somebody came into my house and sat down to type an email to their beloved, they would contract the virus. Now, everybody says, this is like we're at war. Well, it sure is. It's not like we're at war. We are at war, but we're all obligated to be on the front line for our own lives, period. So if you go to a restaurant and you are ordering some food, then it's your responsibility to protect yourself there. That's all.
As a business owner, is it frustrating you to watch what the Senate's doing with this package that they're trying to put together, or you're not even paying attention to it because of what's going on?
Not even paying attention to it, because quite honestly, money is the last thing on my mind right now. And that's not because I've got unlimited resources, believe me, but that's the last thing on my mind. I'll worry about that when I know everybody is, or as many everybody's as possible is taking this seriously enough that I think they'll be okay.
Any other comments during the call that stood out that you could share with the people?
No, not really. It was
group there.
Yeah, it was a relatively short call, and I feel like I don't want people to look forward in an anxious way to, what's she going to say tonight? because maybe nothing. And tonight, I really don't have anything to tell you other than to kind of backpedal a little bit with the push of let's close the bridge. Who in county government has the authority to close the bridges? Our bridge, but the Matanzas Pass Bridge belongs to the state of Florida. The road belongs to Lee County. So it's kind of a combination of several entities there. But again, the logistics from a countywide perspective are difficult and complicated, and they're working on it every minute of every day. I can assure you that.
What is the latest on when somebody might make a decision on like the next council meeting? And I asked that because I was reading what Lee County did. They did some more things today, and they're going to make a decision soon on a county board meeting. And government has to go on, and I'm sure there are other ways maybe that you can have meetings. But is anything in the works for that?
As of right now, there is. We have not called any additional emergency meetings because there's nothing for the council to take a vote on. And the next regularly scheduled meeting is April 6th when the new council takes their seats.
And so,
happy day for
right now, that meeting is still on in the council chambers until something changes.
That's unless something happens between now and then. Yes, it is.
Any final words that you want the residents of the beach to know tonight?
I just want them to rest easily and not panic and do what they can to help themselves and help their neighbors. And what they can do to help their neighbors is to keep their distance, to not have a little sunset celebration on the beach because your neighbors are looking at you going, "Why are you doing that? The beach is closed." I just want people to just continue to be as safe and careful as they possibly can. And, Ed, if I've got something to update you with tomorrow, I'll be here. If I don't have anything to update, I just don't want to create I don't want to create any more anxiety for people because I know so many people are anxious about this. I mean, it's natural, but I want people to feel assured that we're looking at everything, not just 9 to 5. This is a 24/7 gig right now, and doing the best we can.
Great, that's a great idea. So we'll touch base during the day, and
if I've got an update, I'll let you know.
And I'll let everybody know on the Facebook whether or not we have something going on. But thanks again for coming on, and have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, take care.
Anita Saracid, everybody, the mayor of Fort Myers Beach. We appreciate her coming on. And thanks again to the fire chief, the Naples fire chief, Pete DiMaria, for coming on and letting us know about his email that he sent off to the governor. Keep your eyes on the Facebook, folks. You all know that on Facebook we had all of those businesses, the restaurants that are open. You guys were nice enough to list all the names of the restaurants that are still open. I was wicked slow on that. I only had 2. And then by the time I turned around, you had posted all the names of the restaurants that were up there. So thank you all so much for tuning in. And like Anita said, if there's something new tomorrow night, we'll be back around 6:00. But if not, we'll just let you know how things are going. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll talk to you all soon.